Well, I'm happy today to welcome my guest, Coleton Bragg. Coleton is a longtime UT person from his undergraduate as a finance and accounting student, and his master's degree in accounting was from UT. Coleton, I know you also went to law school at UT, and you're still in Knoxville, and so
Yeah, back in
Coleton
Knoxville.
is Chief Financial Officer at Mollenhour, which is a Knoxville-based investment firm that we're going to learn a little bit more about here in a minute. But first of all, thanks, Coleton, for joining us. Thanks thanks for being here today and spending your time with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me and for the invitation.
Yeah, so let's just jump right into it. Your firm is an investment firm. You invest in companies. Tell us a little bit about the types of things that you do.
Yeah, so our firm, I'm an employee. I don't actually own the firm, but we look for essentially businesses to buy. The unicorn out there would be a business that was started by someone, successfully runs, still is in business. There's some kind of competitive moat around the business, and then we would come in and buy them out whenever there was basically an exit strategy needed, or if the person's young and there's a long career ahead of them, we would just keep them in the seat. Provide a permanent capital is what we use internally to offer support as they go out and tackle the market. So that's kind of our theoretical perfect investment scenario.
And so you've got connections with a number of firms, right? So you've got an ownership stake in a number of firms at any given time. So like how many firms are we talking about?
It varies, like you said. Some of them are minority stakes. We like to buy 100% of a good business if we can. I mean, it's quite. We've got investments in software development, in light manufacturing refurbishment, e-commerce businesses, real estate. We purchased a company back in August that's in the aftermarket PMA manufacturing. I always get that turn a little bit backwards, but essentially that company makes parts for airplanes and commercial airliners and stuff. So we're basically, we try to be business agnostic and geographic agnostic. So we don't limit ourselves. Now, naturally, a lot of our stuff is in the Southeast. That's where we're based.
So I mean, I think of the role of a chief financial officer, and I've interviewed for this series chief financial officers for individual firms before, and so it's very easy for us to really think about that in the context of a single firm, where you've got the firm's got its own investments, its own assets, its own employees, a capital structure that comes into play, but you've got tens of firms dozens of firms under your umbrella, and so in some sense, conceptually, each one of those firms could have their own CFO.
That's right. We're different from a normal private equity firm in the sense that we'd like to it takes so much energy to find something that's good. Once you get it, why get rid of it? That's not to say that we wouldn't sell something down the road for some reason, but we aren't actively trying to do that. Normally the private equity, they have your, gazillion limited partners, and you got a general partner firm that its whole objective is to go buy something, improve it, maybe flip it, return capital to the limited partners, make money on the backside themselves. And I think that we're different from that.
Because those firms, that type of a private equity firm is going to have so when they're valuing the deal on the front end, they've already got an exit strategy in mind.
Right.
And you all are very different. It's okay. There's definitely an entrance strategy. There's a valuation component, but then there's we're here for the most part for the long haul.
That's right. And I would say there's not like this traditional funnel that other firms have, where they're looking at 100 deals a month or whatever, and they have the infrastructure in place. We're not. Mostly are good referrals, and we don't have any objectives. It's just provide support to the companies we own. Hopefully we'll get other opportunities as those companies succeed. And a lot of our deals, I think, have been through referrals, not through some kind of formalized process. We don't have a whole team of people cold calling effectively. I'll say it. And my experience is, that maybe that's an inaccurate statement for big private equity firms, but there's a huge distinction there.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to talk a little now about your journey. So I said a little bit in the introduction about your UT credentials and going through a finance and accounting program and a master's of accounting, and then law school and all of that. So can you talk a little bit more about what that path looked like for you, the decision points, and sort of what got you to the place that you are today?
Sure, I could try. I started UT in 2004 as a freshman. I actually, the high school where I went back in Middle Tennessee from Winchester, they had a pretty good accounting program, or like knowledge base. So I came in as probably a junior level accountant in terms of skill wise. And I knew I liked accounting. I thought it was interesting. It's the language of business. And my whole goal was to get an accounting degree. End up, I finished undergrad in 3 years, and then did the MAC program in audit. My parents both are non-practicing but licensed attorneys, and went back to school whenever I was a kid. They did night school in Nashville. So I got to see them grow up in that. My grandfather was one as well. So the law thing was kind of always in the background as this knowledge base. So I applied and got into UT and just continued the fun school there. And it went by pretty fast. I've made a lot of good friends, a lot of some of the connection points, which I won't name specifically, but the networking piece, has turned out to be huge. I got to work with someone I sat next to in Accounting 202 in 2004, who's one of the presidents of one of our companies, and then one of the owners was a law school classmate of our firm. So it's I like business. I knew I was going to do. Then when I went to law school, I pivoted to kind of tax. So I had this audit background, this kind of tax touch point, and finance was always this like constant. I enjoyed my finance classes at UT. I knew my intention was to get back there somehow, like in the traditional sense. I thought I was going to work for a private equity firm in Atlanta. I ended up going to work for Pricewaterhouse in the asset management tax group, where I was doing compliance effectively as an associate. And then my touch point in law school, my current boss offered me a job to come back and help manage their companies as the chief accounting officer, chief financial officer. And that's kind of how I ended up back here after a year in Atlanta. So it was I was not expected to be back in Knoxville, and I was, back then we were 7 or 8 people. Yeah. When I joined, I was 26 when I got the offer, 27 when I officially started, I think. And, we've got 400 or 500 people in our different subsidiaries now, and it's been a wild ride and a good one. And, every day I'm, wake up and it's a different day. It's been a wild journey. During when I came back, I started doing the CFA curriculum as well, and I got that charter.
Well, and that's no small task. I mean, that is a multi-year process, and so you don't just decide over Christmas that you're going to go get your CFA.
Right. Yeah. I mean, I think I actually started when I was at PwC, thinking I would move into the valuation group. Mm-hmm. And then I picked back up. Got through 2 and 3 it was rough doing this job that I am now and studying and stuff. So it's, and that's obviously not easy. So yeah, that's kind of how I ended up here. I've got all this like knowledge, everything you start learning if you're in the arena, like it all is related. It's all important. You can't know everything, but you can ask the right questions. And in my seat, I've got access to resources where I can go call the person who makes $1,000 an hour can tell me the answer in 2 seconds. So yeah, I don't know if that helps. Love business.
It does. So clearly, you have had options: accounting, traditional accounting, tax or audit, something in law, something in finance. So for you personally, what separates finance, and what makes finance kind of your thing?
I always just liked it. I don't know if that's a terrible probably answer, but I enjoyed it. And I probably don't use finance per se, like, in the normal sense that other people who are out there directly in investments in the public space, doing discounted cash flows and stuff all day long. I'm not doing that, although I can. But that was like this core anchor thing, and that kind of like blends the whole deploying capital into businesses. Even if I'm working with my bosses and outside banks when we need funding, if we don't have it internally. So I don't know. I it's always liked it.